Hello. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is John Nordberg. My company is Nordberg Fusion Technologies. My goal is to build the first commercial fusion power plant that actually works, and then to license the designs to energy companies. Now, a little bit about myself. I've made two major breakthroughs in physics. First, I have solved the mystery of time. Because of that, I guess you could say I'm the world's leading expert on the physics of time. The question, what is time, was considered one of the top 20 unanswered questions in science. Solving the problem of time was a critical breakthrough in physics. I can, clearly and unequivocally, explain exactly what time is. Second, I've unified physics. This is it. This is the equation that unifies all of physics. Third, taking advantage of this, that is, understanding unified physics, I have engineered and patented a new way to harness fusion energy. I believe this design will quickly lead us to the first working commercial fusion power plants. If this design works, then it will be the first technology that takes advantage of unified physics. If this design works, then this invention will become one of the most important inventions in history. But will it work? Yes. Well, I think so, but I have to prove it. Most people will not believe it until I've built and tested at least a couple of working examples. But I can't do it all on my own. I need your help. I need backers. One nice thing is it will not take a lot of time or money to test this design. Compared to other fusion designs, this design is relatively simple and relatively inexpensive. To such a degree, I believe these fusion power plants can be built and thoroughly tested in less than 5 years. Of course, I'll still need help financially. I need investors. Better yet, if this design works, it will not take us very much time to commercialize. We can roll them out fast. I believe that more than half of the world's energy can be produced using this new method of producing fusion energy within only 15 years. If I'm right, if this design works as predicted, a lot of investors are going to make a lot of money. I estimate these commercial fusion power plant designs can create $25 trillion of new wealth within the next 15 years. The new wealth will be justified too. This new wealth will be generated because of the massive benefits fusion energy is going to provide for the world. This is the title and the U.S. patent number for my main patent. What is the problem we face? The world needs clean energy. Without it, our pollution will cause our extinction. Period. This is not just a possibility. It is a certainty. Let me explain. We are at a critical moment in history. We are racing towards our own destruction. The planet Earth itself is not in trouble. The planet is going to survive. On the other hand, humans are facing mass extinction. Earth is like this petri dish. We are like this fungus. NASA has released millions of images of Earth from space. This beautiful image shows how our thin atmosphere really does resemble a petri dish. It shows how the spreading lights from our cities really do resemble a spreading fungus. Humans have spread across Earth. Unfortunately, the analogy to the fungus in the petri dish is accurate. This NASA image is a complete montage showing how our lights are spreading across Earth. Images of our cities also show how we are spreading across the planet. This is Paris. Images of farming show the same thing. Now, renewable energy is spreading across the planet. These images show how we are starting to cover Earth with solar panels. Just as that fungus overgrew the petri dish, killing itself with its self-made toxins, Humans are doing the same thing here on Earth. I know, this is not pretty. However, if you are willing to fight this battle with me, we can prevent it. The world's population is growing rapidly. Now, it is about 7.4 billion people. By the year 2100, the United Nations estimates it will be about 11.2 billion people. Let me emphasize, yes, the world's population is exploding, but more than that, the list of what each person wants is exploding. Our list of desires goes way beyond our needs, beyond food, water, and shelter. Whether it's a nice home, a smartphone, or an electric car. Our list of desires is exploding. We are creating pollution too fast. We are creating toxins too fast. We are creating CO2 too fast. We are poisoning our beautiful planet. Soon we will reach the point of no return. We are creating our own mass extinction. After we kill ourselves off, the planet will survive, nature will reset. Life on Earth will continue, but not human life. Our growing demand for energy is not just a possibility, it is a certainty. Because of human nature, there's absolutely no way we can stop our growing demand for energy, or even slow it down. Life requires energy. We need to invest much more in clean energy. We need to invest in the right kind of clean energy. Don't deceive yourself. The solution is not covering Earth with more windmills. The solution is not covering Earth with more solar panels. Yes, they are among many better new technologies, but no, they cannot save us. They can only delay the inevitable. All of these new sources of energy have major drawbacks. If we continue to produce our energy with any of our existing technologies, then this will eventually lead to the extinction of the human race. We must adapt quickly. We are approaching the point of no return. So, what is the solution? There's only one known method for producing energy that has no major drawback. There's only one known method of producing energy that can truly solve our clean energy problem. It is nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion is the holy grail, the silver bullet of clean energy. Fusion is close to perfect. Fusion can provide humans with cheap, inexhaustible, clean energy. Fusion is the only source of energy that even has a chance to save humans from extinction. I have ambitious goals. First, I must prove my fusion power plant designs will work, and then build a minimum viable product. I estimate this can be done in less than 3 years. Next, I must prove the designs can safely and economically produce energy. I believe this can be done within 4 to 5 years. Finally, we would need to build fusion power plants in huge numbers. If these designs work, the promise of huge profits will attract the investors. That will not be a problem. If these designs work, everything would then depend on the politics and the regulations. That could slow things down. However, if there's no delay, by the year 2030, approximately, maybe by the year 2035, I envision over 50% of the United States electrical energy demand could be produced from fusion energy. To summarize, about 5 years to build the first commercial fusion power plants, and then about another 10 years to save the planet from the point of no return. So, here's the big idea in 47 words. I've solved the mystery of time, unified physics, and patented the first type of commercial fusion power plant that will work. This new type of power plant can save humans from extinction and create conservatively at least $25 trillion in new wealth within the next 15 years. Now you might wonder, what stage am I at this point, at this time? Well, I have the needed physics breakthroughs. I have the design and the patents. I have the vision and the company, on paper at least, Next, I need to get funding, build the team. Then I need to start building the facility where I will build the prototypes. Okay, if you would like to understand how my fusion power plant designs work, if you'd like to make an informed investment decision, then at some future time I must teach you some physics. I must get technical, I must provide proof. However, in this pitch, in just 20 minutes, that is impossible. For thousands of years, we have searched for some ultimate reason, some explanation, a secret that explains it all. I believe this is the starting point of that explanation. This is it. This is the equation that unifies all of physics. This equation implies many interesting things. It's almost as if it is making predictions. It is not, of course. It is only telling us things that we did not know before. However, when we test something new that the equation tells us, and the experiment works and confirms it, that is proof of physics. One of the first things this equation told me was physicists were interpreting the right-hand rule incorrectly. In physics, there's a basic idea. You might call it a topic of old physics that everybody learns. It has to do with how scientists describe the magnetic field that is produced by a current in a wire. This idea is called the right-hand rule. I don't have time to explain the old, incorrect interpretation or the new, correct interpretation, but if you wish to understand the grand unification of physics, or how to make a fusion power plant that will work, then you must eventually learn about this. Another topic, and this is new physics, that you must understand is called spherical waves. You don't need to understand everything about spherical waves, just a light introduction. I made a simple animation of a spherical wave to help you visualize them. For a physics lover, this is really cool stuff. The topic of spherical waves is completely new. It is not in any physics textbook. I can teach you this at an introductory level, at an intermediate level, or at an advanced level. At the advanced level, it starts to get into the mathematics of string theory. So it's not for most people. As an investor in my fusion power plant designs, you need to know this. My fusion power plants make very powerful spherical waves on purpose. As an investor, you only need to understand them at an introductory level. Now I can prove the new interpretation of the right-hand rule and details about spherical waves with a $40 proof of physics experiment. This is one of the slides I use to help explain the experiment. It is a very simple experiment. Before you invest, you must see this experiment and understand its importance. After all, it's worth trillions of dollars and can save mankind from extinction. Investors need to understand a little bit about the history of fusion research. They need to understand the basic concepts behind magnetic confinement and inertial confinement. They need to understand what is good about each and why each method has failed. Fusion scientists have attempted to figure out magnetic confinement since the 1950s. The most commonly researched of the magnetic confinement devices have a toroidal or donut-shaped geometry. You may have heard of their strange names like tokamak or stellarator. The biggest experiment in this category is called ITER. As of June 2015, it has cost over $14 billion. They all rely on the right-hand rule. Unfortunately, this type of device will never work because physicists have made a huge mistake. It turns out physicists don't really understand the right-hand rule. Every investor should understand why these machines were designed wrong and how my fusion power plant designs will address the problem. Plus, investors should understand significant research from these designs will be copied in my designs. This is an example where I don't need to reinvent the wheel. At one time in my life, I had dreams of becoming the director of this beautiful machine. This is Sandia National Labs' famous Z-pinch machine. This device was an exceptional magnetic confinement experiment. The problem was it didn't work. It was another right-hand rule-only machine. Every investor should understand why this machine was designed wrong and how my fusion power plant designs will address the problem. Plus, investors should understand a significant portion of the Z-pinch's power supply will be copied in my designs. This is another example where I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Another type of heavily studied fusion device is called inertial confinement. On the left of this graphic is an image of the 4.5 meter core of an inertial confinement device that Lawrence Livermore National Lab made in 1985, over 30 years ago. It was called NOVA. These devices used a number of lasers to spherically implode a fusion fuel pellet. The center image is roughly what it would have looked like when NOVA's 10 lasers hit the target. From devices like this, we know how to create brief pulses of fusion energy. This is now considered basic fusion science. There's something really odd about the scientific research regarding inertial confinement systems. At least to me, it is really odd. Scientists never designed a device that combines inertial confinement with magnetic confinement. I don't know why. It makes sense. Anyhow, my designs combine inertial and magnetic confinement. In the first design I will build, I will use a system that is similar to NOVA's for igniting the fusion fuel. My system will be smaller and less expensive, plus it will be modern, using the latest advancements in laser technology. Investors would need to understand two key details. First, in my proof of concept experiment, I'm planning to use 12 lasers arranged in a symmetrical icosahedral pattern, but later to optimize the designs, I'll need to test designs with different configurations of lasers. Second, in my proof of concept experiment, I'm planning on starting with a 1 meter core. But later, to optimize the designs, I'll need to do experiments with other sizes of cores. Anyhow, in my designs, I call this part of the power plant the ignition circuit. Investors need to remember, I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I can subcontract this component or hire experienced professionals to make them for me. In my designs, I call the magnetic confinement system the confinement circuit. In my designs, when the electricity is produced, it will be created in powerful bursts. These bursts of energy will be far too strong to go out directly to the grid or into your home. So, in my designs, there's a third circuit called the transfer circuit. This circuit conditions the pulses and briefly stores them before the electricity is transferred into the grid. I can't cover the details of this circuit in this presentation. Every investor should understand how the ignition circuit is supposed to work. Every investor should understand how the confinement circuit is supposed to work. Investors need to know this: the inertial confinement system that I will use in the ignition circuit will be basic, nothing fancy. It will be relatively inexpensive. However, an inertial confinement system, even a basic one, will not be cheap. It will still cost millions of dollars. Then I'll need to build a confinement circuit from scratch. This circuit will also have expensive components, like its power supply. The ignition circuit will be tested by itself. The confinement circuit will be tested by itself. Then, these two circuits will be combined and tested together. Together, they'll constitute a minimum viable product. Now this gets a little technical. There is a critical test that must be performed, an experiment that should prove, when used together, these two circuits will greatly improve fusion burn times. So let me explain this. By itself, the ignition circuit's laser pulse, which is the yellow area in this graphic, will create a short pulse of fusion energy, the orange area in this graphic. By itself, the confinement circuit will generate a confining magnetic field, the blue area. This strong magnetic field will surround and confine the fusion plasma. While nobody has done this before this way, I know it will work because something very similar was already done in Sandia's Z-pinch device. What is unknown is how the two circuits will work together. My prediction is this. When the two circuits are used together, their short pulse of fusion energy, orange, will improve. This is shown in the red area of the graphic. The burn time should become longer and the temperature should become hotter. So, this idea combines two methods. The yellow area represents inertial confinement, the blue area represents magnetic confinement. This will improve the orange area, resulting in the red area. It is possible that the fusion burn times will become a lot longer and much hotter. If the fusion pulse becomes longer and hotter, then it will prove both the physics and the concept of my power plant designs. If this experiment works, it will become a major milestone, a milestone that will trigger further rounds of investing. Investors will need to understand all of this, the physics, the premise, and how to read the results. If the experiment is a success, we will be able to build the first successful commercial fusion power plant. Yes, additional experiments will be required. Yes, there'll be other things investors will need to understand. For example, the transfer circuit will still need to be engineered, built and tested, and it contains an expensive component, a superconducting magnetic energy storage ring. If this experiment works, then no additional physics breakthroughs are needed. It'll all just come down to engineering, optimization, safety, politics, and regulation. We will have a minimum viable product that works. We will have seen the dawn of a new era, an era defined by commercial fusion power plants. In essence, we will have a machine that holds a miniature pulsating star in a spherical electromagnetic bottle, in a machine that directly siphons off electricity every time the star pulses outward. We are creating pollution too fast. We are creating toxins too fast. We are creating CO2 too fast. We are poisoning our beautiful planet. Soon we will reach the point of no return. We are creating our own mass extinction. Life requires energy. We need to invest much more in clean energy. We need to invest in the right kind of clean energy. I will need to build an R&D lab. I'll need to attract and hire a team of people. I'll need to purchase land, build an inexpensive temporary office. Then other parts of the lab will need to be built. This will happen in stages. Each stage will be triggered by the successful completion of predefined milestones. In a short presentation like this, I don't have time to go over all the details. Investors should know the final design of the lab will depend on variables that will need to be determined later by my team. While I can't possibly know every detail ahead of time, what I do know for certain about today is this: the dawn of the era of commercial fusion energy could be today.